What is going on, guys? I don't have my suction cup again today, but so like my phone might be flopping around and whatnot. But I wanted to talk to you guys about what the new investment is for the oncoming couple of decades, most likely. And as of right now, and this is really still a new one to some degree, is AI. AI is kind of like the hot investment, and it's going to transform the future of Earth and humanity, to be honest. And then there's a few different versions of AI that a lot of people are not necessarily looking at. A lot of people are thinking of like AI like ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and stuff like that, but those are language models. So that's one AI. Okay. Oh shoot, I forgot to put in my destination. So that's one version of AI. And there's also what we would refer to as like embodied AI, aka real world AI, where that is the AI is doing something in the real world. So I'll give you an example that I know that pretty much everybody knows of. You know of like your like Google Assistant and your like Amazon Alexa and stuff like that, right? Those automations or whatever that like control some things in your home, like when I walk in the door, like the thermostat changes, or whenever I leave the house, like those are automations. They're not necessarily AI. However, Google is working on getting rid of Google Assistant and putting in Gemini. So that's super powerful. That's one version of embodied AI that a lot of people are not necessarily thinking of, but it's very relatable to a lot of people. So the more that you can have like Gemini be there and be able to talk to it as a regular human, and then it command and do things in your house, the more useful it becomes. I would have pretty much everything in my house automated that makes sense if it actually functioned very well. And I have a lot of things automated in my house already. But a lot of things are automated based off like times and sunset and like a lot of lighting type of situations and stuff like that. And a lot of the voice commands are just not very good, right? So by the way, I'm in FSD right now, in the Cybertruck, not driving at all. The Cybertruck's driving me, and it will probably drive me the entire way to the house. Going back to it. Oh, but like, there's like really annoying things. Like I'll say like, turn off the master bedroom lights, okay? And then it'll say, oh, I don't know what you mean, right? And like literally because it's named like master bedroom ceiling light or something like that. So it's like confused just because I didn't say ceiling and I just said master bedroom lights. Or like, like at one point in time I had it like set to like master bedroom, and then I changed it to like parents room. That's what it was. I said like shut off parents room lights or whatever, and then whatever. So it didn't know the difference. And so instead of trying to figure out like what is the right thing you want to shut off, you obviously want to shut something off. It's like, I don't know what you're saying. Try some other command. You know what I mean? And that's highly annoying because then you're like, what was that command? Okay. So then it becomes very useful and makes you not want to pursue more automation things because it's just like annoying. It doesn't work half the time. Okay. Once Gemini is there, and able to be conversational with you, go check, hey, I didn't see a device by that name, but I noticed these couple devices. Are these it? And then also if it can remember that, and in the future, if I say that wrong term, it'd be like, I think you said the wrong command, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn off these lights because last time that's what you wanted me to do. And it'd be like, okay, cool. Or you said, no, never mind, don't turn those off. I want you to turn this ones off. They can turn those back on and turn off whatever the other thing is that you wanted to turn off or whatever. So I just want to give that example because I think a lot of people will understand like how that kind of would work in the day-to-day life. Another version of his embodied AI is this FSD in the Cybertruck. Right now I'm driving, obviously shooting a video, which I do that with FSD or without FSD, but it's a lot easier with FSD, and I can really be involved in this video a little bit more and kind of just sit here and hang out while my vehicle drives me places. I can be more productive and be able to, like, you know, manage my businesses via like text and Google Meets and all these different things. You know, we do engineering for our automation company, and, you know, I'll be in meets and we're going through like design approvals and stuff like that. And like, I got to keep looking back and forth at the road and at my phone or whatever. And so like, this gives me the ability to just be much more productive. And then also a lot of people just on an entertainment and luxury standpoint, it'd be nice to be able to just jump in your car and like scroll Facebook, scroll X, whatever platform you're into, watch Netflix, play a video game, and you could do that for whatever your you know, journey is. And honestly, like, people don't understand like the impact that this could have. That like, maybe people wouldn't mind living 45 minutes away from work if you could just jump in a car and be able to and play a video game, watch a movie, whatever. You just have kind of like your hour of downtime each way, and, you know, and instead of getting at home and sitting on the couch and scrolling, you're just doing it in your car while you're riding to work. So like, might open up a lot of opportunities for individuals. And then on top of that, like, whenever it comes to like Uber services and like Lyft, this is going to dramatically reduce the cost for people to take rides from place to place. This is going to reduce the cost so much that it might make sense for you to not own a vehicle and to just take RoboTaxis, or own one vehicle instead of owning 3 vehicles. You own one vehicle, and then you own one vehicle, and then instead of having a second or third vehicle, you use RoboTaxi instead. I think the cost can get down enough that it is cheaper to take a RoboTaxi to and from work every day versus owning a vehicle. And so this happens with embodied AI. Okay. And now there's other versions of embodied AI. It could be anything from, you know, automated flight. It could be, you know, like automated machinery. And not just automated, but just having the AI ability to like communicate and adjust things based on just verbal communication. And or some type of automation that is too complicated to code. For example, humanoid robots is the next big one. Okay, now that's not the biggest one that I'm going to get into, because that's not the hot one that everybody's talking about. I'm still getting to that one. But humanoids, so we have like a few of them that are like right on top of each other, and they're going to be so freaking big. Like, it's going to have more economical impact than all of humanity's economics from all history combined, basically. So you're gonna have next gonna be like humanoid robots. So again, RoboTaxis is gonna completely disrupt things, and other embodied AI, your large language models. Then you have your humanoid robots, right? Now this is gonna be like a risky place to play, because a lot of these humanoids are either gonna fail, or they're gonna take so many years to get ramped up that there's gonna be a dominant leader in that space. Now I personally am very bullish on Tesla, and I think Tesla is going to be the leader in this space. I think that Tesla, hands down, is going to have the best humanoid robot. They already have the embodied AI for FSD, and that's a big reason why I think Tesla is going to be the leader in the humanoids, because the same AI that they've used to train these cars, the only company in the world that has been able to create a self-driving vehicle via AI, basically has the toolkits, the toolbox to go on to the next thing, and use that same AI platform to then build humanoid robots. That AI part is the factor, right? The mechanics of the robot are complicated. Don't understate that, right? That's another complication that's there. But none of those matter if you can't figure out the AI part of the humanoid robot. Why? Because it's too hard to code a humanoid robot. It's just like, it would be impossible to code. It would take somebody 50 years, a team of engineers, 50 years to try to hard code all these different things. And then they'd have to program it for every single individual task. Whereas if AI can learn, it can learn through video and learn through real world experiences, it's gonna have the ability to be successful. So again, humanoids is one of the next ones. Now, one that's coming up that a lot of people are starting to talk about, is becoming a hot topic, and that is investing in space. Now, immediately, on an economical standpoint, what we're talking about being the first investment in space is doing AI in space. So instead of building these giant AI data centers here on Earth and building them in warehouses, basically, essentially they're talking about launching satellites into space with solar panels, maybe some small amount of batteries to, buffer out like any, solar fluctuations and whatnot, or basically act kind of like a capacitor to some degree. And so and so the AI chip will be there, and then it'll communicate its results back to Earth. Now, this won't be embodied AI. This will be for like more your large language models, and could also be for training as well. So you could have your training centers all up in space, because training centers don't need to execute their code immediately. And also for large language models, you can essentially do all the compute in space and then just send the result to Earth. Because the result that we're looking at, especially when it comes to text results, we can allow an extra 1 second for a result back from an AI, especially in a text form. Now, if we're talking and doing voice communication, there might be too much latency there, and it may not work out great for that. But they could utilize Earth's AI to handle voice communications, and then use all the space AI for training, text-based, prompts and searches and stuff like that. And also too, like, maybe it'll only make sense with AI, but even like your data centers, like it might make sense to have data centers up in space. So instead of, like I have Google Drive, instead of all my Google Drive stuff being stored in a warehouse out here, out somewhere, in the United States or even across seas, that drive data is actually stored in space, which is actually really interesting, because talking about like if there's ever a reset in civilization, then maybe like the data that's up there in space can kind of be maintained and last longer than actual humans on Earth, if we have like a major catastrophic event. Who knows? But the AI data is going to be the start and the reason for the economics to start, launching things in space, right? And don't get me wrong, like Tesla or SpaceX is already making a huge amount of money off of Starlink and launching Starlink satellites in space for internet. And so that gives an economical justification to do something. Same with the AI chips. It's going to give an economical justification to do something. And then they're going to come to the conclusion, well, like, if we send these raw materials to places like the moon, and then if we send these raw materials to places like the moon, and then we then launch from the moon, so instead of launching each satellite from Earth, they launch the satellite from the moon. And there's multiple reasons for that. Why may you want to do that? One, the launch cost could be much cheaper. You could be able to send the materials much more densely into space, and then send them from the moon, assembled, manufactured. So if we start to move into that realm, then what's going to happen is now we're going to have to start having economics for space, right? How are we going to feed people on the moon? How are we going to house people on the moon? What else will we need to do? Whatever, total economics of these people on the moon, right? We got to build manufacturing facilities. How do you get electricians up there? Mechanical assembly people. You know what I mean? So now we have to transport these people. Okay, how are we going to go about transporting these people? Okay, let's say. Okay, so but I'm going to quit kind of going down that rabbit hole or talking so much surface level and go deeper. So, for example, who's going to be the food company that supplies the food to those people living on Mars? Right? Who's going to be the people that are building the infrastructure? Who are going to be the companies building the infrastructures for this Mars living, right? There's going to be a company that is going to specialize in building homes in outer space. There's going to be a company that specializes in all these different things, right? It's not just homes, right? But if you can find out the company that becomes the expert at making homes for space, that will be the next big investment. Not just that, but if you wanted to like diversify your portfolio, diversify what you're investing in, this is the way to do it, right? I might be invested in Tesla. At some point in time, I might be invested in SpaceX, you know, and I'm going to be looking out for other companies that that give me the ability to diversify my investment, yet still kind of playing on this same narrative. That's the way I like to invest. This is not investment advice because you legally have to say that, but you know, you got to do your own research and all that good stuff. But I have philosophies in the way that I want to invest, right? I have, you know, methods, and I want to say it's like ideas and premises, right? It's not that some things are locked in, and some things are locked in, and then some things are more of like just the general idea, right? We just parked, so the vehicle just made its way all the way from where I was at, Menards, in the gym back here. No interventions, never really. Oh, so what I'm saying, like, I have premises and ideas. My premises and ideas are that I'm looking at now space. So first of all, I'm thinking of RoboTaxi. I think Tesla has that in the bag. I don't really feel the need to diversify against that. My diversification against RoboTaxi is puts on Uber and Lyft. And it's not even really a diversification. It's kind of, it's just diversifying where the money's sitting at. But really, they're upon the same outcome, right? If RoboTaxi disrupts, Uber and Lyft go down. So it just gives two different places for the money to be. Whereas, like, if something were to happen to Tesla and some other AV company comes out and whatever, right? It's just like a small diversification. And also, let's say, for instance, we have a big market crash. I'm already betting that Uber and Lyft are going to go down in price. So if we have a market crash, Uber and Lyft are going to go down in price, and I'll be able to take profit. I'll be able to flip that money and put it into Tesla, and that's how I'll roll that money. When the market recovers, I'll take that money back out of Tesla, some of the money back out of Tesla, put it back into my Uber and Lyft puts, and then boom. So I have a hedge against the market, as well as playing my thesis. Next thing, humanoid robots. You know, again, I think Tesla has it. I'm okay to put some other money in some other companies like Figure, but I don't think Figure's public yet. And I'm okay to put money in a small amount. Maybe it's a couple % of my portfolio in some of these other companies that I kind of believe in. They might be successful. And then also too, like looking at things that are around that, right? It might be your chip maker. You know, like for example, like Nvidia gets a lot of kickback from like this FSD thing. However, I think Tesla's about to start making their own chips, and I think they're going to cut Nvidia out for the most part. I think that's their long-term plan. At least whenever they're doing these mass numbers of chips for the cars and for the humanoid robots, I think Tesla's planning on building their chip primarily. Maybe they'll keep Nvidia along for the ride, just more of a business partnership type of thing, but I think they're going to get to a point where they really don't need them. Which is one of my downsides of like investing in Nvidia. But you have Nvidia, AMD, both big chip builders. You have your semiconductor manufacturers, but you know, generally manufacturers don't do the best whenever it comes to, you know, like returns and profitability. Their numbers are just not as good. It's, you know, it's not the best business model. But those are plays, right? And then now we're going to the next level, as I would say, AI in space, right? And also when I'm talking about humanoid robots, don't forget like other embodied AI, like, you know, again, I had RoboTaxi, humanoid robot. Those are both embodied AI. So like that's the parent of those categories. And then now we're getting to, you know, space. The first thing is going to be AI in space, data centers in space. Um, that can be data storage and compute for AI. And so that's going to get us to space, okay? And then you have, right now, like that's going to be a hard one to invest in. You don't have a lot of options. I think SpaceX could be some of or not SpaceX. I think Tesla might provide chips to the space data centers. I think NVIDIA will also provide chips to the space data centers. I think NVIDIA will sell chips to other people that put data centers in space. I think NVIDIA themselves will put data centers in space. I think AMD will put data centers in space, right? And then so all these people are going to pay companies like SpaceX, which SpaceX is really, I think, the only one getting mass payloads to orbit, meaning they're the only ones able to deliver to space, that can actually deliver products to space successfully. With that being said, it becomes limited on what you can invest in. So like definitely if SpaceX becomes public, I'll probably definitely invest because space is so vast, right? And we can just continue to expand in space. Humans always grow, humans always explore, and there's no reason that SpaceX wouldn't continue to grow, especially with them being the leader in space, until we get some other real world competitors that can launch flight after flight, with rockets to get us to space. Until we start to see some true competition there, then I think we just don't have nothing to worry about. I would pay attention to some of those companies becoming public. Like say for instance, like if you had like Blue Origin or like Virgin, did Virgin Galactic close? I think they might have went out of business. And I still need to do some more research on all this stuff myself. Because now space is just now, like there's enough talk going around about it, enough buzz going on about it, that it might start becoming a reality. It might start becoming, something that's very fruitful. With that being said, there will be economics for it, and some of these other rocket companies will then make sense to invest into. And there's other like deep things. Like I mentioned stuff about like food and housing because they're like simple things, but there's other things that you could research into, such as the technology side of things, like what all chips would go into these AI data centers, what kind of like cooling radiators and stuff like that would have to go into these satellites, whose batteries are going to be in the satellites, whose solar panels are going to be on these satellites, right? These are all different, like if you broke down like the bill of materials for these satellites, these AI data center satellites in space, who's the maker or manufacturer of all these different technologies, who owns the bandwidths and communication protocols for these satellites to be able to communicate with one another. Is there going to be a company that handles the communication down on Earth? So like all these things to kind of like, if you can connect the dot and find some of these things, these are where you can really find some of your diamonds. Like you find the diamond in the rough or whatever, because a lot of people are not thinking about these other small plays, and then Wall Street will pick up on it at some point in time, like, oh wow, they're the provider for that. And then you'll see like a company like 10X. You'll see a company that goes from nowhere to, you can make millions and millions of dollars. Like, I'm not sure if there's any relation to this, but I heard something about Boxable doing something with Tesla or SpaceX or something like that. And I wonder if Boxable, by the way, builds little small tiny homes, okay? I'm wondering if Boxable could potentially get into building space housing. If Boxable could get into building some version of space housing, I'm not sure if Boxable's public. That's another thing I want to look up. But investing in a company like that, where it's like they're doing some small tiny home things, blah 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 blah. But you go from doing small tiny home things to like building homes in space and being like the maker of homes in space, and you have the relationship with like Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla, all these things, that company can 10x, 100x, 1000x in like literally a matter of like 5 years, 10 years. I mean, if somebody said give me 1000x return in 10 years, everybody would take that, right? So a lot of these plays, they could be risky, but they could also have like huge upside, and they can also create diversification in your portfolio. So that way you can bet on big picture items and say, this is my big picture item, this is where I think we're going to be. And these are the things that I think are going to play a role in that becoming a reality, right? And that's my number one investment philosophy. I think that it's one of the best ways to find future growth and to not just follow the trend, but follow what is going to happen with humanity. I felt like if you follow what's going to happen with humanity, and not just follow, in a sense, lead what's going to happen with humanity. Why do I say lead? Because if you look at the number of people that know anything about AI data centers in space, the percentage is like 0.001% of population knows anything about data centers in space. If I went out here and I talked to somebody about, dude, you know they're putting data centers in space? They'd be like, what? No way, dude. You know what I mean? So when you have knowledge like that 0.001% becomes like the delta of you making a crap ton of money, because once that 0.001% becomes 1%, becomes 5%, becomes 20%, becomes like everybody on Earth knowing that we have AI data centers in space, that kind of equates to the amount of dollars that you make, right? When you know about something before anybody else, you can put your dollars there, and then everybody starts to know about this thing. Then that's when your dollars go through the roof. Now that's a very generalized way of looking at it, and I wanted to break that down in that particular reason, right? But it's also my fundamental like philosophy is following that, right? And because it's not about knowing the amount, it's not about people knowing that makes you more money. What it is when more people know, more people invest. When more people invest, it pushes the price up, right? People didn't know about Amazon. People said, and then whenever people did start to know about Amazon, like, oh, you shop on Amazon? You shop on Amazon? That's scary, man. I don't know if I would do that. I ain't putting my credit card in there. You remember that? Did you come from an age where people were saying, oh, I'm not putting my credit card in that. Oh no, I don't trust that. I'm not giving that website my I'm talking about Amazon. You know what I mean? People did not trust them. And people did not use them. And Amazon made so many people wealthy because they were so skeptical for so long. And those who like seen it, believed it, and knew it was going to be a thing, and got in on ground level, became multimillionaires with small investments. Maybe you invest in $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 and became multimillionaires. You know? And that's why I really like to bet on the future. I like to bet on some things that are like, nice, solid investments that are, they have just good fundamentals. They're already profitable. They're generating really good revenue. They're not carrying a lot of debt. And so that's like the base, right? And then you have your other plays that may be more speculative. They may be more risky, right? Especially from like a fundamental standpoint. Like maybe their financials are not that great, but their future looks phenomenal because they're going to be doing this space thing or whatever, right? So yeah, I just really wanted to call out this whole space thing that we have going on, and this is kind of like the buzz and the hype right now, and it's going to be the future. It's going to propel us to space where we're actually going to start creating space infrastructure. And then once we create space infrastructure, then there's going to be a ton of other companies that pour into that. There's going to be very few providers at first. So if you can get in on ground level with some of these very new providers, as you make profits, cash out with some of these other new and upcoming companies that are entering into that space. Yeah, just kind of keep rolling it. Good luck on your investment journey. Subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this. Talk all types of investment related advice. I'm actually at one of our investment properties right here. Talk about Tesla FSD, business ownership, all that good stuff. Catch you on the next one. Peace.